Boys, girls, listen, today we are going to talk about a fragrance from the house of Ormonde Jayne. So I need you to focus, pay attention, get your popcorn going right now, get your favorite beverage, and strap up because we are going for one heck of a ride. Hopefully, we got a banger on our hands. All right, welcome to the Scent Bubble. I'm your host for the evening, and like I said, today we have from the house of Ormonde Jayne, Taif. I think I got to cover my face on this camera. There you go. Listen, I normally 99% of the time try to get a decant with an atomizer to get a full spray, as well as get more than 2 or 3 ml so I can wear it for a day or two before I do my review. Unfortunately, due to access online, sometimes you just can't do that with every fragrance. Nonetheless, I'm going to review this fragrance whether you like it or not, and I think now is the time. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take this off and quite lather myself with this little magic wand. I'm going to show you the way that I kind of evaluate this with the lack of juice. I'm going to brush this on skin several times to really lube up the skin. Might even turn it over, really coat the skin. I want a good amount of juice. Yeah, that's substantial. And then what I like to do is take the thin side of a test strip, because you do have to cut this one to get it in there. And I like to completely douse the end of a test strip to get 2 different wearing experiences. It is somewhat of a limited evaluation. I really do believe you need stuff coming out of atomizers to at least see if you should get a 10 ml or a smaller product to try it out. But again, sometimes when you're trying to get more of these luxury perfumes, they're just harder to get in a sprayer, or the sprayer just costs an astronomical amount of money. So sometimes we have reviews like this. It just is what it is. But I love the house of Ormonde Jayne. I'm excited to really review the house for you guys and walk through their line to really see which ones stand out from the rest. Again, this is classified as a unisex scent. 4 out of 5 rating with 1,000 votes. The house of Ormonde Jayne is popular, but I think more people have heard of the name than tried their fragrances. It seems like they have a really big audience and they do have pretty large distribution, but they aren't the largest house in the world. So, this fragrance was launched in 2004. Again, 4 out of 5 ratings, so not necessarily mass appeal, but a lot of people do love it. And it's called Taif, so I believe that's a fragrance built around the note of Taif Rose. So if you're a rose lover, you definitely want to stick around. Okay, so I kind of wanted to talk a little bit for, longer than usual to let all this stuff sit down, because I absolutely obliterated my skin and this test strip, and I really want to catch a dry down. So this is a Parfum concentration, should be richer, denser, maybe not as bright and out there, but let's just see. They're all different. Okay. So the one thing I want to point out immediately is that the difference between the test strip and skin here is the rosiness. It is quite rosy on the test strip, but in a very watery way. It's not diluted or anything. It just feels more a bouquet of rose water, versus on skin, I kind of get this somewhat powdery, velvety, but super airy, richer, kind of pink and red rose type of combo. So definitely you want to put this fragrance on skin before you decide to buy it. I mean, it's very rosy. It's very rosy. This is more of like a simple singular fragrance with a little bit of different textures. I wouldn't really call this 3-dimensional. I would call it more 2-dimensional, because you have the scent and then you kind of have this airiness. There is a little bit of a glitter on it from kind of this rose petals textureness to it. It's kind of sparkly, so maybe it's approaching 3D, 3-dimensional, but it definitely wears quite simple. It has that luxury feel. And to me, in the rose category, this kind of again, we're not talking about matching scent profiles. We're just talking about how this rose fragrance wears on skin. Would be similar to like kind of like your Estee Lauder Pleasures intense kind of fragrances. More something familiar you guys are familiar with would be something like, you know, Atomic Rose, or maybe even some of the rosy scents from Chanel. It wears very pretty luxury type of vibe. Chanel's luxury line, you know, the private line. It's a lot of Taif Rose. I mean, it's fancy, it's pretty, it's glittery, it's velvety, but it is airy and watery at the same time. It ambers up quite a bit on skin, but this is still just like all about this fruity floral. And I want to say fruity because the rose is animated to be not so much natural as it is kind of animated to being this more fruity experience. But the fruitiness is severely toned down by the rose, but you can't call this a purist rose fragrance because it's got the bells and whistles of like amber. I even feel like there might be some ylang ylang or like frangipani or whatever the heck that flower is called, and some fruits. So let's go ahead and transition here and see what we're dealing with. Pink pepper, dates, saffron up top. So saffron's probably that glitter. It's not that peppery to me. And the sweetness does feel like dates sweetness in terms of like, if you were to bite into a date, I feel like it would be like a 5 out of 10 in terms of sweetness intensity. It's a very smooth, not low frequency. What the heck am I smoking on? It very much fits the type of sweetness you get in here. You know, it's kind of this middle of the road sweetness that's just perfectly tamed. And then you get all that Taif in the heart, freesia, jasmine, orange blossom. Definitely feels like a kind of Taif bouquet type of scent. And then you get amber and broom. Now, broom looks a lot like freaking ylang ylang. Now, I don't know what this smells like in person. I've never smelled this before. I've actually never even seen it, but it does look like ylang ylang, and it says sweet yellow floral with honey and pollen. I truly get that. I mean, not as much honey, but you can feel the kind of like, you know, like if they use like an agave sweetener on like a ylang ylang flower type of thing. This does smell, for lack of better words, like a yellow flower. So it does kind of have this pink and yellow thing going on with really good pungency and projection. I do find this to have a little bit of 2-ish, 3-ish feet sillage. It's more of a projection scent, but I am sensing some wafting sillage in the air. I imagine as a parfum, this would probably last a solid 5-6 hours, but really wouldn't go beyond that unless you're indoors, or if it does go beyond that, would be a skin scent. Moderate performance. There we go. On both sillage and longevity. What does this remind people of? Anything we recognize, guys? Nothing I'm too familiar with, to be honest. I mean, I've seen these things, but I haven't smelled these things. So, yeah. I guess there's a Taif elixir. I'd be much more interested in the elixir, just for longevity's sake. They market this as unisex, and I do know many men, including a lot of the guys in the fragcom content space that are very popular, have this fragrance. But I never find them reaching for it or talking about it a lot. They do a review. They talk about how great Taif is. And a lot of people talk about how special the Taif rose is compared to the other roses because it seems to be the more cartoon animated character out of the film, if that makes any sense. The other roses smell characteristic, but just more natural to me. I've always found the Taif to feel very candied. But yeah, I know a lot of influencers that have this fragrance, especially men, but I do find it to be quite feminine. Again, the first thing I thought of was like Estee Lauder Pleasures or Pleasures Intense type of vibes. Roger and Galley Rose type of thing. So I'll call this unisex, but pretty solidly feminine leaning. But I wouldn't be mad at a guy for wearing this. I think just the occasion would have to be, put it this way, men, you would really benefit from a gust of wind or breezy weather with this fragrance. I think women can pretty much wear it year round, but men, I feel like you need to be outside with a breeze with this fragrance. You know, by the water even, it'd smell really nice. I might even consider layering this, maybe putting some more woods under it to kind of give it some girth. But yeah, I find this to be quite feminine. I do love the scent. I would love to have this scent, put it this way, I would gift this scent to my wife because it's reminiscent of a lot of vintage perfumes, but has a modern kind of glossy finish on it. But maybe I might sneak a spray or two of it, you know, a couple days out of the year if we're going to be outside. Let's go ahead and zoom out and let me go through some usual suspects here. The price on this bad boy, again, you can always get 10% off if you go directly to Ormonde Jayne's site, and you're going to need it because these are expensive fragrances. Lucky Scent says the retail on this fragrance for 88 ml is $290. Now, what I will tell you at the time of this video is Olfactory LLC. I have seen the Parfum, well, I think it comes in an elixir, but I have seen the Parfum concentration go for as low as 130. So definitely that's more than 10% off for the full bottle, brand new sealed. That's the only place I've seen it that low. So definitely, if you guys aren't familiar, Olfactory LLC, though it does have a limited quantity, does carry some of your high-end niche stuff at sometimes even half the price of the originals. You can get a lot of Roja Parfums for under the $130 price point. Joma sometimes goes that low, but Olfactory LLC consistently does that across the board with most of what they carry. Sprays on this, in the Parfum, I'm going to go like 8, ladies. You know, again, I think this is a women's fragrance. Men, spray lighter. Get a gust of wind behind you, you'll be okay. Women, I think I would up spray on this or just consider the elixir outright. If you're the type of woman who's shy with their fragrances and doesn't overspray at all and really like to feel more angelic, get the Parfum. If you need something louder, because this functions like something between an EDT and an EDP, definitely consider the elixir, though I haven't smelled it. That would just be my hunch, is to at least try the elixir if they still sell it. And alternatives to this, I think easily would be like Estee Lauder's Pleasures Intense, something like that, something in that rose water category. You know, here's my thoughts. With Taif, I feel like it's clonable in a weird way. So since Taif has a candied, more sweeter feel to it, a more modern feel than some of the other roses, I feel like a lot of the synthetic accords of rose that are in a lot of your Bath and Body Works type of stuff almost give off a Taif vibe. It's definitely not as natural. It's not as elegant, but it's very darn close in terms of profile. So I do feel like a lot of vintage perfumes, as well as regular body sprays from Bath and Body Works and stuff like that, would totally give you the type of feel that Taif gives you. So I lean towards some of the other Ormonde Jayne offerings, but this is a beautiful scent. It's well balanced. It's quite simple, but I see a ton of utility in this for a woman. I see it more as a special occasion fragrance for men. So for that reason, I think I would give this fragrance an 8 out of 10. Well above average. It's its own thing. It's Taif, so who doesn't love Taif, right? But it's not the most head scratching. Doesn't have the most wow factor. It probably is more wow factor on a woman, but even nonetheless, it doesn't have a lot of signatureness to me. Not a lot of complexity or depth even in its simplicity. It's just kind of like a really well-made fragrance that has a ton of utility, and it's got this little fancy factor to it. So I'm comfortable putting it at an 8 out of 10. As you can see, I'm closing my eyes a lot because I'm getting quite tired, but I love this fragrance. It's not an all-star, but it's very strong, very solid from the house of Ormonde Jayne, and I'm looking forward to trying other stuff. Hey guys, when it comes to Taif Rose, what do you like out in the marketplace? And have you put your nose to this fragrance? Like, comment, subscribe. More importantly, turn on that notification bell. Talk to me. I do talk back. Let me know if you guys have put your nose to this. And also, is Taif the best rose out there, guys? If not, sound off in the comments. The answer to some of those other questions, as well as what roses do you gravitate towards? I know for men, it's hard to find a rose that men can wear, or even a masculine rose. Most of the time it's unisex roses that men kind of have to deal with. But what are some of your go-tos? I think of fragrances I think Oud Maracuja has rose, Baranda from Nasamato, Whiskey and Rose, Atomic Rose. I think even Side Effect has some rose in it, if I'm not mistaken. Taif Oud, which I do own from Roja. You've got your different, prissy roses from Tom Ford, Oud Satin Mood, Oud Silk Mood. You just have a ton of roses to choose from, and most of the ones I just named are quite good. I think even Kajal Lamar has rose in it. There's so many rose fragrances to choose from. Rose is like vetiver to me. It's hard to get right for men, so I go through like 20, 30 rose fragrances to find one really special one, but every time I find it, it makes me love rose and never count it out type of thing. But I find it's much easier to make a rose fragrance that women love because there's tons of them out there already. A lot of homework to draw from. Anyways, guys, this was Ormonde Jayne Taif, the Parfum concentration. And really appreciate you guys for rocking with me. If you have any questions, sound off below. I'm going to put 2 videos up based off what you've been searching for, because I got to go, but feel free to stick around. And if you enjoy the channel, check out the playlist section where I've sorted the reviews, the entertainment, the podcasts, all the different content that I drop every day and have been dropping since I started my channel. There's not a day that goes by that you don't get fresh new content about fragrance from me. And we cover everything from A to Z. Any price point, talk about history. I mean, we just get nerdy with it so that hopefully with my information, you can have a great fragrance journey yourself. With that being said, I know I need to shower and get my butt in bed, but I hope you guys have a blessed rest of your week. And until next time, this is SB signing out.